Hello, Trevor.
Hello. Happy to be
Hey,
here.
first I'll introduce you. So Trevor is the CEO, co-founder of Myko AI, and that is the pronunciation, right? Myko,
That's right.
correct?
Yep.
Good. And so here's what we'll do. We'll start with because I'm familiar with you guys. We talked a while back. Uh, I'll give my version of what the heck you guys do, and I will probably ruin it, and you can correct me and tell everyone what you guys really do. But my understanding of you guys is like Salesforce or any sales CRM is like the brain, where it's been notoriously difficult to get all the good right stuff into the brain by the sales reps, and equally or maybe even more difficult to get stuff out of the brain in terms of C-level and sales leadership understanding what's really going on with opportunities and just sales activity in general. And so you guys come in and through natural language and being able to chat with your CRM, help both reps put the good stuff in and help leadership get the good stuff out. Is that close?
That was great. I should be hiring you to lead my sales next. What we've seen is voice, we think, is the next big operating system. So we enable teams to use voice to get both data into their CRM and data out of their CRM. And really, most recently, a lot of our traction has been coming from outside sales teams because they're on their phones all day. And so being able to interact with Salesforce through voice, not just to add descriptions or notes, but to kick off actions, whether it's new cases, closing a deal, adding activity, all of these different items that they might typically wait until they get back on their laptops for, it's much, much easier to just kick off using voice.
And I would bet that was one of those things you maybe didn't necessarily see coming, right? Like maybe you did, or is it
We
one
did
of
not.
those so that the market is helping kind of find you, or you helping you find the market. So let's talk about that in terms of it hasn't been a straight line from you woke up with after having a dream of how to get stuff in and out of sales CRMs and built it. Walk us through the journey of how you got here.
It's been quite a journey. So we initially started building a financial modeling tool back in the day. So you could take data from finance systems like QuickBooks and get it into Excel to build better financial models. I think my background was originally finance. I spent some time sales, business development as well. And so we launched the product, started to get some traction, never really found venture scale growth with it. But we saw all of these image generation apps like Dolly come out in the summer 2022. My co-founder had a traditional AI background. So we actually built our own language model that you could use language and ask, like, what was my revenue for the last 3 months and get data from QuickBooks that way. So we released it 2 weeks before ChatGPT came out. Saw some really cool user data on like how people interacted before ChatGPT and then like post ChatGPT, their minds were just expanded and they were asking these significantly more creative questions. And that was a real insight for us of like, wow, like people are really starting to understand how to use language to do more. Now, finance teams and accounting teams weren't the right initial beachhead. I had worked a lot with Salesforce. I knew it was really hard to get data out of Salesforce. People struggled with Salesforce reporting. And so we kind of pivoted from there to use this natural language over Salesforce data. So how do we enable you to interact with Salesforce, get data out of it, ask questions like, what was my best performing rep over the last 3 quarters for this specific product? And once again, once we kind of released that into the market, we saw that need actually wasn't as high in the buying priority as this idea of like, how do we actually help sellers do something? And so that's why this kind of last iteration has gone from pulling the data to pushing the data. And really, this pushing data isn't about just notes, but like all of those different actions and interactions in these systems, can we enable sellers to use voice to kick them off? And that's really been through just dozens to 100 plus conversations with different sales teams, individual sellers, sales leaders to really understand and better focus in on where both the pain point met the like organizational's budget capabilities.
Yeah, actually, that brings my next question, which is you've been smart about talking to as many people as you can out there. And that starts with that's how you and I met is I got an out of the blue email and you were saying, I just kind of want you to take a look and give me your thoughts, kind of thing. And which I think is brilliant as you're building something like this. Where did that come from, and how much good stuff have you gotten out of that in terms of actually talking to people who are on the ground?
A lot of really good stuff has come out of it. I think as a founder, especially, we have a little bit of an advantage talking to potential customers because we can always take the angle of like, we're just looking for advice. We are just looking for advice. We're looking to learn as much about people's problems and see what types of solutions can solve them. It becomes a little bit harder once you're in a real like defined sales role. Like nobody really believes you're asking for advice, but the hack of having the founder title gives you that capability. And so I've just used it to talk to as many people as possible in as wide a range of different, even tangential avenues so that we could really understand what does the market landscape for something like this look like, and how do people think about that buying motion?
Cool. And I saw somewhere that you suggested that there was a bit of rejection as you were first trying to get funding. I think you said you were getting rejected all over the place. Can you talk about that, and kind of, if you could go back maybe 3, 4 years, what would you kind of tell the other version of yourself in terms of what you would do differently?
I think people frequently see on social media and other examples founders and tech media stories talking about, oh, this company was, raised $5 million from a pitch deck. These founders went to the school, blah, blah, blah. And you don't truly appreciate A, how rare that is, and B, likely the connections those founders had to those types of investors beforehand. That was the reason, not the like, oh, they had a great pitch deck or a great idea in of itself. And so we tried fundraising for almost a year and a half, got rejected by most Silicon Valley VCs at one time or another. And through the course of A, just iterating the pitch, and then B, just trying, like reaching out to as many people as possible and not necessarily accepting rejection on the face of it. We eventually did get funding from Khosla as we kind of pivoted both the product we were building then started to make more traction. I think my biggest piece of advice is always founders don't, especially first time founders, like myself included, don't fully appreciate the traction required to get initial VC funding and what VCs look for if you're an unknown quantity. So if they don't know you and they don't have connections that know you, the bar of the type of traction and what they want to see you have built and customer reactions, what you have built, is much higher than otherwise. And so leveraging that type of insight, if I were to go back, would be something that I think really critically about of like, how can we build something to get meaningful traction initially without trying to get the fundraising piece first?
Oh, that's really interesting. And you told me a funny thing at one point, because you and I were chatting about ChatGPT, and that there was something about a job description that you created with ChatGPT, because I think you were like, I've not created a job. Tell the story of like what happened there.
Yeah, so right after we fundraised the initial round, we had to start hiring engineers. And so we wanted to put together a job description. And so we just told ChatGPT, we were like, hey, we're an early stage startup. This is what we're building. We're looking for some engineers, like write us the job description. Came out with like a fully baked job description, including like requirements sections, description section, everything was in there. We copied and pasted it, posted it on AngelList, which is now well-found recruiting platform. And the job posting did so well from both the quantity and quality of applicants that the quant fund at AngelList actually reached out to us to invest and invested 150K just based on the signal performance of how well the job posting did.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's really great. I want to go back because I butchered the thing about the brain and the Salesforce and everything. Tell me, like, just fresh, what is the thesis of Myko? Like, what are you really trying to do out there?
Ultimately, we're trying to save everyone in the sales organization time interacting with any traditional software interface that they're interacting with. That's the very high level of it. And so what that means where we're going is all of the different parts of your workday, whether you're in Salesforce, whether you're in Workday, whether you're in Navan, whether you're in SalesLoft, a lot of those different actions and interactions we think in the future will be triggered by voice. And ultimately the voice interactions will then kick off agents to go do a lot of those responsibilities. And so where we've really started is with this like outside sellers because voice is so natural to them. They're already on their phones all the time.
Yeah. And so will that, I don't think I heard data in there, but do you think that will extend to like a Zoom info, sales intel in terms of pulling the data out via agents?
I think ultimately we want to be able to connect to all parts of the data tech stack. So any of your kind of roles and responsibilities, anything you're doing on a daily basis, you could kick off by starting a voice interaction agent over.
Cool, cool. So, all right. So you sell to sales teams and sales leadership. Can you define that a little bit more in terms of like who are you going after really in terms of ICP personas?
Yeah, so right now it's enterprise companies with field sales teams. So large field sales teams using Salesforce where you've just got tons of reps out and about, going door to door, going to doctor's office, and they're just not getting their data back in the CRM, or the data they are getting back in the CRM is sparse. And so thinking through what do those workflows look like? How do we help those teams get not just the notes back in, but actually those other things that I mentioned, whether it's the support cases, whether it's kicking off the quotes, any of those different pieces in their typical workflow stack, how to make it really easy for them to do when they're literally driving from like appointment to appointment.
Yeah. And I think I'm smelling larger deal size in there too. So that's nice, right? Uh,
Yeah, it's one interesting learning moving up market because we started kind of selling into the startup space when you're looking at the closer like, oh, $100 a month, $150 a month, and then you start looking at like what enterprise deal sizes look like, those ACVs, and you realize why so many companies move up market.
right. So you are also in the process of learning about everything AI sales related, as we all are. What are you what are you thinking in terms of beyond Myko? What do you think things are going to start to look like in enterprise sales, software sales in the next couple years?
I think what I'm most bullish for is a lot of the account-based research tools and quote unquote, like everyone talking about the signal-based selling becoming significantly better over time. And so I think right now it's a kind of patchwork of different triggers and signals that people are using. But as the even AI like ChatGPT gets more advanced and you're able to combine multiple different data sources in really unique ways, I think it'll give sales teams that really do have a strong understanding of their ICP a much clearer ability and path into those organizations with this really strong account-based approach that's really leveraging all of the latest capabilities of what AI can do. So that's one of the areas I'm probably most bullish just broadly about the AI space.
Well, great. Yeah. And like I said to you offline, try to keep these things really short so that people can come in, understand a little bit more about a company like Myko. What about organizationally? This will be my last question. Organizationally, where are you going in terms of, I would think even your selling approach probably is needing to change a bit, right? As you're going more enterprise. So what's that looking like for you?
Right now, I'm the only seller. So initial founding led sales. I've got some great advisors that are helping me through the process as well. Really learning a lot from either reading books or other places. LinkedIn's actually been quite useful for that as well. But really understanding how to multi-thread deals, how to figure out how to get pricing proposals in place, how to figure out all of these different steps. That's a little bit new in the process. And so it's been great so far, but certainly drinking from the fire hose.
Yeah, and it's one of those for what you're doing, you need to be winning the hearts and minds of both those those folks in the field, the users, and also that C level in terms of why this is going to make sense. So, yeah, I see great things for Myko. This is awesome. This is great to kind of just learn more about kind of where you're going and where AI is. So, I know you got a busy day being the chief bottle washer of everything over there is sales related. So, thanks, Trevor. This is really great.
Yeah, no, I had a great time. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks. Take care.